This is day 447 of the Arukh HaShulchan Yomi. If you'd like to sponsor upcoming shir or more of the Arukh HaShulchan Yomi, please contact me directly. You'd be greatly appreciated. Today we are still finishing Aleph, and we are doing Mem Aleph to Mem Zayin. Yesterday we were talking about throwing a kazayas of into house where it be mashlim a kibetza to linear tuma, and we're continuing with that today. Memav of Aram Kosab Sham Medin Kabzaim Zorak kazayas ochlen by his tummy. If you threw a kazayas of food into a house which is tummy, v'yishlim kazayas zela ochlim shel yusham na'aseh kol kibetza. And there the kazayas completed the share of food which is there, and together it's a kibetza. I raised the sofik yischayev al kazayas and yishishlim ashir leading to malon yischayev. It's not clear. It's a sofik. It's not badai. If he's now chayev because even though it's less than a grogeres, the kazayas made up a kibetza or not. And it seems from here that it's that in his Gemara, unlike our Gemara, didn't say truma. It's just food in general. The kemel sheish kazayit shu chashiv chol makom, and since there's kazayit which is significant all everywhere, means start with kibetza the manual tuma, and join with the kibetza which works and has an effect with tuma. Yesh sofik moshka samnu. There's a sofik. Avo pachas mi kazayit. Less than kazayit aim as a chashivos has no significance. The law mean ambiguous the mitzdarfing and two mitzdarfing namely in Shabbos. Don't say because it joins together for purpose of tuma. It also joins together for a purpose of Shabbos. Nearly the zel rak boklin shul kabel tuma. So any food which is mukshur kabel tuma, and therefore it can become tummy. Mukshur near the body limits tarif leaning on Shabbos. If it's not mukshur yet, it's too far removed, and it's not. There's no achshivei there. And therefore, it is not going to be mitzdarif. Or is that kazayas, the kazayas, even though it makes a kibetza, if they're not mukshir the kabel tuma, there's no effect in terms of tuma because there's no hechsher. Hechsher meaning no food can become tummy, and it was moistened somewhat intentionally beforehand. So if it's not mukshir the kabel tuma, it's too far removed for that being mashlim kibetza to be sufficient to be chayev. And it says in brackets, Cain rarely use daiti. It's his own opinion by Sham and Mishnah Melch. Then base, Hamotzi Ochim Pachas Mikashir. If you take out food which are less than a shear, kli and in a vessel, Patur Afal Keli. You also examine on the vessel, Shakeli Tutilo. Because the vessel is subordinate to the food. Beer Rambam Sham Nesh Kamanos Lotzia Keli. Now explains because you don't have in mind to take out the vessel, Elo Lotzas Masha Besocha, but rather to take out what's inside it. Akal Shadol. From this is clear that if he did have a mind to take out the kli together with the food, then he is chayiv. Mishnah by Perak Yud. This is a Mishnah in the 10th paragraph of Shabbos. Yusham Yisham Mevur. Is that rak boch and tzichem lekeli? Shami says only food with food which requires a keli. On peru shmeinim, such as fruit which is fat. In other words, it's easy to bruise and therefore has to be protected. Like berries, etc. I was answer the keli, but if you don't need the keli for the fruit, chayav, because you take out the keli as someone independently. Because I have a Rabbit Sham. I have a Rambam lo ebizeh. Even though the Rabbit writes this to Yerushalmi, the Rambam does not. Mishum the Shashlo lo mashke, because in our Shas doesn't seem to make such distinctions. So to somebody who takes somebody alive out in a bed is exempt also on the bed. Because the bed is subordinate to the person. That's specifically by a gadol who is not tied down, and he's an adult. That he could have gone on his own. But somebody, a child who cannot yet walk. Adult doesn't mean necessarily adult, it means somebody who can't walk. As opposed to a child who cannot yet walk, or kafus, or a person who's bound up and therefore cannot walk. We don't have the chaynos esatzmo kamosh kasu b'sif chabzai. When somebody takes out a peddler's box, habishesh by minam harbe, even though it has many types of wares inside. And even you took it out in I guess you took out the samples and put them in your hand. Eno chayav el achas. You only chayav of one. Because they're all part of the sample box. And on themselves, each one of them is not significant. It's only because they're part of the sample box that they're significant. So you only have one on one, only over one lav for all of them. And so too with anything similar. Mem Gimel. We are commanded by the prophets. So like the Torah forbade taking objects from a private domain to public domain, or vice versa. So too are commanded in the very way that we walk. They should be different on Shabbos than and on a weekday. The prophet says, if you refrain from extending your legs on Shabbos, and the Gemara Shabbos learns from this. And also possible says you should honor it from and refrain from going on your way. That you should not walk on Shabbos, so you walk on a weekday. A weekday person runs to his business and takes large steps. Even though it says in Chazal and the Gemara that it's bad for the eyes. But on Shabbos there's a prohibition to run and take large steps. You walk heel against toe, in other words, small steps. Like a person who is a person of leisure. But Kami Psia Gasa, what is considered to be a large step? Yoiser me Ama. And he explains, what's that mean? More than an Ama. Hainu Kafa Regel, the foot itself, Hu Chatzi Ama. And it's about half an Ama. Uvenko, because actually, according to Chazanish, it's 2 feet, right? An Ama is 2 feet, so 1 foot is half of Amma. According to Chaim Noah, I guess we have, it's not quite the same. But in any event, the principle is the same regardless. So the Kav Regel is the Chatzi Amma. Then regular regel between each foot, Chatzi Amma. Usually, between each foot, there's a half an Amma as well. In other words, you usually walk with a pace of a foot. If it's more than, well, I guess if it's more than that, I'm not sure why we just said before more than an amma. I guess so. He's saying that the foot itself is half of the amma, and the foot itself half of the amma, and the step is half an amma, so that's an amma altogether. Okay, be that as it may, more than this is we'll see a gasa elin ken iavshalo pochos. Unless he can't do a small step, if he midas raglov derech based on the size of his leg and the way he walks. But for the purpose of a mitzvah, to go to a shul or something similar, mutar or mitzvah larutz. It's mitzvah and it's a mitzvah to run even on Shabbos. These are not chafatzecha. These are the cheftzei shamayim. This is what is the set in the needs of heaven. It says it says you should refrain from finding your necessities. It's not really necessities. Your desires are prohibited. But the desires of Shammai, hard to. Desire is probably not the right word either, but you get the picture. Are mutarim. There's the brackets. Psia is running which is defined as uprooting the second leg before you put down the first leg. The kashal izar bezeh bein morgan magalim kach. Arukh HaShulchan says it's difficult to be careful about this, and we're not accustomed to do this. I'm not sure it means like that. If we're not accustomed to run or not accustomed to refrain from the gait, which is like running. For Rashi Shampir, so Rashi there explains more than an amma in one step. Mem Dalet. General principle is one should go slowly and normally. Okay, Mem Dalet. V'davar ze miklal anek Shabbos. is included on Shabbos. Omrim Yom Menucha, it's a day of rest. Bali Menucha, Lord team, and people who are at rest, people of leisure, Lord team, they don't run, but seem to see a gas, and they don't take large steps. If it's somebody who, by whom jumping and running is a pleasure, and also such as those boys who play with each other, they get pleasure from their jumping, and their running. So exercise for at least for a young lad would consider be mutter on Shabbos if this is oinik. And therefore, and also to run to see something from which you'll derive pleasure is permissible. Even though when you're running, it's a bit of a overexertion. But this is a part of the pleasure. Tanugo, this is part of his pleasure. He gets pleasure. In that which he is speeding to see the thing. Which he desires to see. And that's okay because it's not as a result of some business or a weekday matter that he is running. There's brackets here, but we'll skip it. Be'isa b'tosefta Shabbos, Tosefta says, "Ein rotzim b'Shabbos k'dei lisamel." One doesn't run Shabbos in order to exercise. I'm matayil kedarko, but you can take a normal walk as is your normal wont. I feel kolam kula. You can walk the entire day in a normal pace. B'achi perushon means this is what it say. She'eshu v'sol roots k'dei shisamel b'yaziyah. There are those states where it's medically indicated to run and sweat. It's forbidden on Shabbos for two reasons. One is because we don't do medical procedures on Shabbos. The second one is because the exercise, because the time he's doing kashal of aritza, it's hard for him to run. Mitzvah, and he's in anguish. Therefore, it's just because he has to. But to stroll in the normal fashion, that's even if it is healing for him. Mishnah Berurah says that something of machmir, even by tiul, by strolling, it was kavana is actually for exercise, but it's difficult, isn't rabbanan to take it that far, I think. Back to Arukh HaShulchan. So strolling, he says, is permissible, even there is a refuah in it. Kemach Eno Nikar shows us a mishurfa, because it's not obvious doing because of healing. Ve'eno mitzdayer. El Misari, he's not in anguish, he's having pleasure. As strolling normally brings. That's a moral, you're allowed to stroll on Shabbos. Meaning, what's the chiddush? Means even though you have in mind for your health reasons. It's just like a food which you eat because it's healthy, which is okay. If it's not, then he's going to tell us that tiyul, even for a foolish reader, what is he going to tell us? And here's also a brackets which we'll skip. Technical one. Mem hey. Avagav also leaves up Siyagats b'Shabbos, even though it's forbidden to take wide steps in Shabbos. V'chein lekvos, and also to jump. Shein lo tanu, we say doesn't have pleasure for this. Kamgal, nevertheless, she'el olech v'gia lamas hamayim. When if you're walking, you came to a water, an irrigation ditch or some other trench with water. He has in front of him three possibilities. Hachal seilech mayim, one is to walk in the water. Shani Sakif, and the second is to go around the water. Vashlish is Lakovs, and the third is to jump over it. Also, the first way to walk in the water is also legamri. It's completely forbidden if you're going for an optional activity. Because you might come to squeeze out your garments, which is going to become full of water, and this squeezing out is permitted. Forbidden. For active bar mitzvah here, they're only permitted to go through to the purpose of a mitzvah, with a change in what way the person normally goes. Commercial blood should become clear in the next sif. But the second way to go around, also Yeshua Torah Rav, you're increasing the amount wherever you're making on Shabbos. Therefore, in this case, the third way is best. To skip and jump over the irrigation ditch. Even so broad, you have to take a longer jump. That you can't get your second leg has to leave the ground before your first leg reaches the ground. Nevertheless, mutab sheidaleg. It's better to jump across mashakif than to go around the marba belilch where you're going to walk more. Achimi rechava harbe, but if it's very wide, well, if you have to go around, that's better than going in the water. Mitam schita as a count of squeezing kosh kosavu. There's no way around. And when you go, you're going to have to go through the water. Also, the garment, it's absolutely forbidden in lo dvar mitzvah, except for dvar mitzvah. We said for this we learned if there's no water in the ditch, then you have to go into the ditch. Go down and come up. You can't skip across it. But the skipping across is better than going into it and to go and then come up. Because that is adding exertion, like going around. But obviously it depends how deep it is. If he was going for a purpose of mitzvah, so he's going to greet his Rebbe, visit with his Rebbe. Somebody who's greater than him in wisdom. You have to pass this derogation ditch. So if you can jump over it, you should jump. And that's better. Just like rishus, just like in optional activity, it's best to jump. If you can't jump, so go around. You can't even go around. You're allowed to go through the water. This comes up later on. Since you're allowed to go in the water, that's better than to go around the marba behilach where you add exertion by additional walking. Okay, the Mishnah Berurah says if it's a Talmud whose Rebbe requires him, in other words, that the Rebbe gets sharpened, the Talmud is from the Talmud, so the Taz says he's allowed to pass through the river, and the place of Shabbos forbids it because it's not for the purpose of the Talmud, the purpose of the Rebbe. If the Rebbe is not sure about something, and he's going to ask the Talmud because he thinks the Talmud might know, maybe the Rebbe forgot his shir and needs the Talmud to remind him, then, says the Mishnah Berurah, makes sense, like the Taz for sure, that he can go through the river. Mishnah Berurah says that the Achronim agreed that it's better, no matter what the circumstances, even if it's a mitzvah, to go around if possible, than to go through the water. But what if he has to go through the water? So back to Arukh HaShulchan. So well, how does he go to when he wants to go to the water? He should make a difference. Such as not taking his hand out from under his garment. Meaning the over b'mayi might be because of l'mal harbe. Somebody goes through the water, he lifts up his hands very high, and Makbiya because of Malarbeh, he lifts up his clothing very high. Puts his hand underneath them. So his hand is extending beyond the edge of his garment. Right? Like this. So they won't fall. Shabbos also you can't do this in Shabbos. Just go as if you're walking on the street. And this will have be cognizant. They not come to squeeze out his clothing. You can't pass on through the water with a sandal. Since you can't tie it and tighten it well, afraid maybe it'll fall. You come to carry it, the place you now have to carry it. It's just arriving, such a public domain. Or a public domain but the shoe is okay. Because it's tied onto his leg. That's according to the way their shoes look. Now we have to answer according to our shoes, how they look. Which shoe can fall off from its feet? One which cannot. Says, in my opinion, all of our footwear is considered to be something which doesn't fall off. Kolosin, only the galoshes, meaning the rubbers you put outside your shoes, mutayli pole, they can fall off. Even though you're wearing them to protect your feet from water, you can't wear them in water which is a bit deep. Mem Zayin. Not just for Dvar Mitzvah, but it's going to safeguard his fruit that shouldn't be stolen. The Zem Botu B'Shabbos is Mismal Shabbos. Sheino Seklum, not doing anything, Ben Monea, Raglea El Monea, Raglea Agan Avim. You're just impeding the thieves. Shmiras Monoganki Ke Mitzvah. And safeguarding your money is also like a mitzvah. Ben Shmiras Peros and Dvar Mitzvah. But nonetheless, there's a distinction in how you go about watching your fruit and how you go for Dvar Mitzvah. The Dvar Mitzvah tiru gam chazor lech derech hasamayim, and for Dvar Mitzvah let you come back through the water, even on Shabbos. Come on, ba'alicha, just like you went. I'll be upon Shis Baro, based on what we said in the previous sif. The imlana tilu b'chazor, because if you don't let him go back, lo yitzei l'lechsham, he won't want to go. In terms of watching the fruit, lo yitilu rak halicha v'lo chazor. They allow him to go and not to come back. Yimana. And if your friends are going, okay, big deal. Besides, we're not so concerned that he's not going to go because of his loss of money. He will go. But supposed to he might not go if he can't come back. There's the brackets here. And there's several things which we allow people to do at the end, because otherwise it might not begin, such as going out to do with the chayla, etc. There are several prohibitions. But here is no specific prohibition, just a concern that you might come to do a prohibition, perhaps.